Lakshmi, I hope my screen is visible to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. First thing that we need to do is when the person will come on this sign in screen after creating his profile on this platform, how will I redirect him on this forgot password screen? So this is the
Yeah.
first thing for which we need to define the code. A label over it like this, and we can enlarge the size of this label so that it can cover the whole text forgot password, and then we can remove this text part from this properties part of this label. Okay, now we can make use of this label box. Fine, the idea of this is label 4. Let me replace it with this id forgot. Okay, so now when the user will come on this screen, he doesn't know that we
Sir,
have placed a,
actually, sorry, sir. Sorry.
no
Actually, you
problem,
had like
please.
created one screen called forgot password. Now you used that screen. New
Yes, I'm going
screen.
to,
No, the other day.
I am going to use
Huh.
that screen only, but I am connecting the sign in screen with that forgot password screen. That's what
Okay.
I'm doing.
Okay. Understood.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So because, where after creating his profile, the user is going to come on this platform. Now, if
Huh.
suppose
Huh.
he forgot his password, how he is going to log in into this app? So for that, he will have to hit this forgot password option,
Okay.
which is
Okay.
present
Understood.
here. And I would like
Huh.
him to get redirected on that forgot password screen, which we created in the
Screen.
previous lecture. Okay, so
Understood, sir.
how am I
Understood.
going to do that? I'm going to define an
On
option,
event that click ID.
and the
I
ID of
understood.
this label is forgot. So I
Huh.
am going to select forgot from here, and then I can
Set screen.
make use of, absolutely correct. We can make use of the set screen option, and the name of that screen is screen 5.
Okay.
So here we are going to replace it with the screen 5. So that's how the
Huh.
user is going to get redirected on this screen 5. Now here, see, the user know that this is a particular email address with which he created his profile. So the only thing which he would like to update is the password of that email address, right? So how can he
Hmm.
do that? For doing that,
Hmm.
so we have got three components over here on this screen. One is this.
Okay.
Let me rename this to forgot email because it is a part of forgot password screen. So that's the
Okay.
reason I am naming it like that. Forgot password. I am giving the name to this component, and to this
Okay.
button over here, I am naming it as forgot login.
Okay.
Now let's come on this coding part, and we are going to define the code for this login button. For doing the same, we can pick an uneven block from here and put it over here.
Okay.
And the ID of this component is forgot login.
Huh.
That's what we need to select from this drop down, the first drop down.
Okay. Mm.
And for updating something,
Mm.
this is the block which you can use, update record. So you
Okay.
need to put it over here.
Mm.
Right, now I would like you to understand something first. Just a
Mm.
second. See, if suppose if I'll create an ID, if I'll create a profile with this email address, so
Okay.
automatically what is going to happen? It is going to come against this ID 1 over here. So the first profile
Mm.
that you will be creating, it will come against ID 1 in this users table. Fine.
Okay.
Similarly,
Huh.
if you create a second profile, let's say with this name, okay, so it is going to come against,
Under the second one, against
that
the
is
second
absolutely right,
ID.
against the second ID it is going to come. Now
Huh.
now how can we see if you want to update something using this update record option? So we
Mm.
need to find out the ID first of that particular
Okay.
person who want to update the password for his panel. So how can we find out the ID? That's what we need to think first. Fine, we
Huh.
need to find out the ID or against which the profiles information of that person is present in this table users. Are you getting my point?
Okay. Yes, sir.
So
Understood.
so
Understood.
how can we find out that information? See here, what we are trying to do, we are trying to pull some information from this table users, right? Because we are trying to match the information with this ID. So
Yeah.
for doing that, what we can do, we can make use of this read records block first. Okay, I'm going to
Okay.
put it over here. And the tables from which I want to fetch the details is this users, right? So I need
Yeah.
to replace this
Users.
with users.
Okay.
And there are two curly brackets over here in which I can mention that condition, with the help of which I
Condition.
can pull the ID of that email address which the user is going to enter here. How can I
Okay,
do
so the
that?
curly braces is for the conditions. Like we can
Absolutely
put some
correct.
condition inside it.
Absolutely
Okay.
correct. Fine. So
Okay.
here I'm going to write down email, because there are three columns which are there inside this users table. One is email, second one is password, and I'm going to delete the third one which I created for you to understand the concept of this table on that
Yeah.
day. So I'm deleting this one for now.
Mm.
Fine. So they are going to be two things, email and password. So
Mm.
email is going to get stored in this email column and password is going to get stored in this password column. Fine.
Okay.
Now, if suppose I want to find out the ID of that person whose email
Okay.
address is this, whatever he's going to enter here in this email ID, with that email ID, if you want to pull the ID of that person, okay, how can you do that?
Okay.
So you need to mention the condition over here inside this bracket. So what does this mean? It is going to give you the records which is present again, which are related to this email ID, email address over here.
Okay.
So now,
Okay.
what is the ID of this component? It is forgot email. I need to write down here forgot email. Yeah, now it is fine. So here we are going to, so what is going to give you the ID now? This thing is going to give you the ID.
The
Records I
records.
dot ID. Okay, so this is going to
Oh.
give you the required ID. Fine. I am actually I'm making some mistake. I need
So
to
one
do it
more
over
doubt
here.
is there.
Just a second, just a second. Actually, I am making this mistake over here. I need to mention this email over here and then get text. I need to get the text from this forgot email component. Forgot email. Fine. And now this is going to give me the ID of this person whose email address is this. Yes, now you tell me what is your doubt.
So first, like email get text is it's going to fetch that email from that forgot that ID. It's going to from that box. It's going to fetch that email address.
That is absolutely right.
Now it has to like now it will go through I to like all the records. It will go through all the records to only get match that email address. And
Absolutely correct.
next, that's why we are using the for loop. Is it?
This
Huh.
condition that you have defined is for that. This condition that we have defined over here, it is for that. And,
Hmm.
now whatever ID the user is going to enter here, the compiler of this platform, it is going to match that ID with all the IDs which it will find in this column email. Okay, now suppose if you'll enter anita@gmail.com. So this is the record, this is the whole record it is going to pull up from this table.
Okay.
Fine. And now what is the ID against which this anita@gmail.com is there in this table? It is ID equal to, the ID is equal to 1, right, inside this table.
Hmm.
So this records I.id is going to give us 1 as a result.
But why we need for loops? What is the like use of for loop? Why?
It is used for going through all the records
Huh.
which
All the
we have
records.
created.
Okay.
That is absolutely right. Going through all the records which we have created inside this table. Fine. We are going to discuss about
Understood.
this also. Okay, don't worry about that.
Okay.
Now,
Understood, sir.
now what we have to do, instead of placing this update record over here,
Mm.
We need to place it inside this for loop. Okay, we need to
Okay.
bring this update record like this and put it over here inside this for loop. So now this update record is a part of this read record block. Fine.
Okay.
And what do we want to update? We would like to update the users table. And what is the ID against which you update, against the records of which you want to update? The ID number is this.
Okay.
Okay, now what do you want to update? That's what you have to write down. See, email is going to be this only because we don't want to update the email ID, right?
Yeah, only
We want
password.
password we want to update. So email is going to be this, and
Okay.
password
Okay.
password is whatever you're going to enter here in this field. Okay, so that is going to get updated in the password field, which is there in that table against this email address. What is the idea of this? It is forgot password. No,
Got password. Yeah,
just
forgot
copy it
password.
from this design part. So once the user is done with updating the pass, why am I getting an error over here? I think I am missing something. Email is perfectly fine. Password is
Bracket
here.
after forgot password, sir. That bracket
Bracket
after
after
forgot password.
forgot password. Okay, this one. Yeah, absolutely correct. Fine. So once the user is done with updating his password, I would like him to get redirected on this sign in screen, so that
Okay.
he can log in into the app using the updated login credentials, right? So for doing
Yeah.
that, we can again make use of the sit screen option.
Okay.
We can put it over
Screen
here
3.
and it will be screen 3 now.
Okay.
Right. Now let's check whether this code is going to work or not. So I'm going to run it on a separate, on a new tab, and I'm deleting this existing table for now.
Okay.
Fine. And now I'm going to run it on a separate tab. Let's make use of this. Fine. So let's create a profile first on this. I need to. So let's create a profile first on this platform. I am creating a profile with this name, and this is the password.
Okay.
Okay. Now when you'll come on this screen, where is that? So a table has got created over here, and
Okay.
the information is also visible to us. What is happening? Yeah, the information is also visible to us, whatever we have entered. Why is it coming email 2 also over here? Let's check it. Are we making any mistake? Email. Okay, we haven't eliminated this part. We need to eliminate this thing. Yeah, now it is fine. So let's now delete this table and create a profile one more time.
Okay.
So table has got created. Okay, and now it is fine. Let's now hit this forgot password option and see what's gonna happen.
Okay.
So we have got redirected on this forgot password screen, and here I need to enter this Gmail address. What was the ID? gaurav@gmail.com, and let's update the password with anu123. So see, the password has got updated. Fine, let's now sign in into this app using the updated credentials.
No, 1 3. Okay.
So we are able to log in, right? Now let's check out whether can we do it for the second ID also not. I'm going to create a second profile using this ID, anita@gmail.com. Okay, forgot password, anita@gmail.com. And then it is, what was the password? Earlier it was Daksh123.
Daksh 123.
Now let's replace it with Sneha123 and see what's gonna happen. So see, the password has got
It's up.
updated. It is getting
No,
updated.
now. It's taking some time. Okay.
Fine.
Okay.
So that's how
Yeah.
we can update the password. Now let's come back on
Sir, like
this.
one more thing. So like when we are
Please go ahead.
entering the password, it's like already like showing options now, sir. Like suppose you're typing the password
Absolutely,
when you
that is right.
enter.
It's because of the browser that I'm using. Because there is a
Like
thing called
generally,
cookies.
so in general, like if we want to avoid that on this app, then that's
On the
nothing to do
app, it
with the
will,
app.
no, there's nothing to do with this app. It's because of the browser which I'm using. So the information is
Okay.
already stored in the form of cookies on this browser. So that is the reason, I'm able to see these names when I'm, these names which are visible to me, this list kind of thing. It is coming from the browser, this Chrome which I'm using. It's not because of the
But
app.
is there any option that like we have like we don't want to use browser, especially for the password? Like in real time, when we enter, like we don't get options for password. For email, it is fine, but for password, so is there any option like that? I'm just wanting to know over
I
here.
We can put a validation over here, but we will
Okay, okay,
discuss it later on. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Now what we are going to do, see, if suppose the user has got successfully registered his profile on this platform and
Hmm.
he opens the app on the second day, suppose, so I don't
Hmm.
want him to register his profile one more time. I would like
Okay.
him to get redirected on this sign in screen directly. Okay,
Hmm.
we need to provide a link in between this sign up screen and sign in screen, right? So that the registered user can get redirected on this sign in screen directly. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
for
sir.
doing that, what we can do, we can come on this sign up screen, and here I hope you're able to see this sign in with small, it's
Sign in with yes,
written in a
yes,
very
yes, sir.
small font over here.
Yeah, sign in
Okay,
with.
so what
Yeah.
I'm going to do, I'm going to place a label box over here on this.
Okay.
And the way I've created a link in between that sign up screen and forgot password screen, in the same way, I'm going to create a link in between the sign up and sign in screen.
Okay.
That's how you can make it more interactive and make it more real.
Hmm.
Right. And
Hmm.
here, the idea of this one is label 5. Let's replace it with label 5. And I would like the user to get redirected on what was the name of the sign in screen? It is screen 3.
Screen
So
3.
that's how we can do it. Fine. And now let's come on this screen. So once the user is done with logging in into the app, okay, this is a screen he's going to come across, right? Screen 4.
Yeah. Hmm.
And now here I would like to see the user's name, user's ID with which he has created his profile. So for doing that, what we can do, we can make use of this label box and put it over here.
Yeah.
Fine. And here I'm going to replace it with email ID of user.
Hmm.
Now, how can I pull the email address of that user? That's what we are going to check out. And let's replace the ID of this one to user ID. Yeah, this is fine.
Okay.
So, when the user will hit this button, if the login credentials which he has entered over here matches with the one with
Hmm.
which he has created his profile on this platform, then only
Hmm.
he's going to get redirected on this screen, right? So
Yeah.
now what we need to do, we need to make some changes in the code that we have defined for this button, because this is the button which is actually redirecting the user on this screen 4. This is how you need to think. Fine,
Hmm.
understanding?
Hmm. Hmm.
Now we need, what is the
Yes, sir.
idea of this button? It is sign in. We need to go on that sign in buttons code. This is the one. Okay.
Hmm.
Now here, this is perfectly fine. Okay. So the user is going to enter his email ID in this component, the ID of which is email. And I would like
Hmm.
to show him his ID on this screen 4, in this user ID. So how
Yeah.
can I do that? For doing that, what I can do, it's a very simple code that you can make use of. Uh, there is a thing called set and get property you can use for that. Where is that set
Okay.
text property? Uh, where is that set text? Yeah, this is the one. Let's put it over here. Okay, now
Perfect.
in play, see what is the ID of which, what is the ID of that component in which you would like to, in which you want to see the ID of the
User
person
ID.
getting reflected. It is user ID, right? So we need to
Yeah.
replace this with this ID of this component, that is user ID. Now from where can you pull the name of the ID? We can pull it from this
User
component,
table.
from this
Oh, okay,
component
okay.
sign
From
in
that
table, because from
component.
this table
Understood. Okay.
we are going to get redirected on this one directly, right? So what is the
Hmm.
ID of this component? It is email. How can we fetch
Hmm.
the text from this component? So in order to fetch the text, what we can do, first of all, we need to get rid of this text which is there by default with this block, and let's now make use of this
Get
get text property.
get
So
text.
together they are set and get. Okay, set get
Hmm.
property. Remember this word, set get. And
Okay.
what is the ID of this component? It is email. So we are going to have email over here. Fine. Now let me show you the magic.
Got it. Understood now.
Abhinav, stop. Abhinav, Smita 1, 2, 3. See,
Wow. Wow.
fine.
Okay.
Now let's come back here. And
Hmm.
now we are going to code for logout button. Okay, how
Okay.
can we do that? So for doing that, we need to place a button over here. We're going to define the code for two more buttons, that is logout and delete. If suppose a person has got his profile on this platform and he would like to delete his profile, how can he do that? So we are going to
Okay.
code this logout button first, and after that we are going to code for the delete button. It
Hmm.
is going to be logout. Here I'm giving the ID to this. This is ID which I've given to this button over here. Let's come back. So in order to define the code for this button, we need to make use of this on event block again.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
And when the user will hit this, what is the ID of this? It is logout.
Yeah.
Logout. So when the user will hit this logout button, where should he get redirected to? He should get redirected to this sign in screen. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he should get redirected on the sign screen. So for doing that, I can make
Set
use of this
screen.
set screen property. Where is that set screen? It should be screen 3.
Screen 3.
Fine. Now
Yes.
let's make it more interactive by adding this place sound block over here, converting it back into block-based coding. Choose, and here I'm going to choose a sound from, this is fine. So there is a shortcut key which you can use for increasing and decreasing the size of this window. It is Control plus. If you'll press Control and plus together, it will increase the size of your window. And if you'll press Control and
Okay.
minus together, it is going to decrease it. See, like this.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay.
This way you can increase the size of the window. So now let me show you what is going to happen. So we have got gaurav@gmail.com and anu123. Let's log in with the help of this email ID and password.
Okay.
So I'm not going to create a new profile now. I just I just need to hit this sign in with option here. I'm going to get redirected on the sign screen, and here I'm going to write down this ID and anu123 is the password. Let's hit this login button. So the ID is getting reflected over here. Now let's
Yeah.
hit this logout button.
Okay.
Now what is the issue? Can you tell me what is the issue right now? See the ID and the
Again, it's like
password.
popping.
Absolutely correct. You know, the ID and the password which we entered earlier, they are still getting reflected on this panel. Now I don't want to see them. So how can
Hide
we get rid
element.
of them? Instead of making use of that hide element, because you know, if you use that hide element property,
Hmm.
if you want to sign in again, then how are you going to enter the, where are you going to enter
Oh,
the login credentials in? Okay, so
yeah,
instead
yeah,
of
yeah.
using that hide element property, what we are going to do, we are going to make use of this set text property again, putting it here. Now
Okay.
we need to set the text of this component. What is the idea of this component? Which is there on this sign in screen, it is email. So we need to replace
Hmm.
it with email, and we don't want to see anything here. So that's how we can do it.
Okay. Understood.
Yes.
Empty. Okay.
Empty. Similarly, the same thing I am going to do
For
it
password.
for this password field
Uh,
also.
uh, Password. Okay.
Fine. And I think the user, you know, if suppose he's a new user, he will enter the login credentials here also. So
Okay.
why don't we make this also empty? What is the idea of this one? It is E in capital.
Capital. Yeah.
And the idea of this one is password P in capital.
P in capital.
Now I think you are going to get the required output. Fine. So this is how you can code the logout button. Gaurav, and here it is anu@anu123. Let's log in. See, so if you want to again, that's how you can. Why it is showing
Okay.
invalid credentials?
Gaurav
Why
at one two
is
three, I think, sir. Is it?
no? It's not Gaurav at 123. It
You
is
updated it. Anu 123 only.
anu123. Yeah. Why it is showing invalid credentials to us? Just a second. I think the code is not running. It is anu123. Yeah, now it is fine.
How, sir? What did you do, sir?
Sorry. I think
What?
by mistake, I placed a space in between Anu and 123. So that's the reason I was not able to log in. The password I
Okay.
entered
Okay.
was not correct. Okay, now
Okay.
let's
Okay.
talk about how can we delete the records,
Profile. Okay.
delete a profile. So for that, let's place a button over here.
Okay.
And this one is going to be the delete button. ID is also going to be delete. Let's now define an uneven block for this delete button. So first of all, you have to tell me when the user will hit this delete button, where should he get redirected to?
Sign
On
up
which,
to the sign up screen.
absolutely correct. He should get redirected on this sign up screen instead of that sign up screen, right? So let's do it like that. Screen 2 it should be. And there is a block with name delete records, which you can find here in this data tab or toolbox. This is the one, and you can put it over here,
Okay.
put it like this over here. Now, you know, there it's based on, again, it is based on ID. Just
Okay.
a second. Again, it is based on this ID thing. So we need to
Okay.
pull the ID first of the user, right, who
Hmm.
want to delete his profile from this platform. So in order to do that, what we can do, See, let's get rid of this
We have to
delete.
read all the records.
Absolutely correct. So whatever code we have made use of for this forgot password, where is that forgot password? I think this is the one. Yeah.
Yeah, on
Whatever.
event forgot click. Yeah.
So we can copy this thing from here and we can put
Okay.
it here inside the on event block of this delete button. Now, why is it showing us an error? Just a second. Read records is okay. It is. I think it is now. It will be fine. Yeah, now it is fine. So we need to read the records from the users table. Fine,
Okay.
and email ID from, see, the user who is going to delete his profile from this platform, his email ID will be visible to him over here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the name of the component is user ID. So
User
instead of
ID.
forgot email, now we will write down here user ID. Okay, so this is going to give us the ID of that user, and instead of using this update records, now we are going to make use of delete records block. Let's put it over here, and the name of the table is users, and the ID is going to get saved. We can fetch the ID from this code through this code. I think now it is good to go. Finally, the user is
Okay.
going to get redirected on this screen too. So this is how I can get him redirected on this screen too. Instead of putting it inside the read records block, I'm putting it inside this on event block. Yes, now it is fine.
Okay.
Now let's check out whether we'll be able to delete this first record around. Okay, so for
Hmm.
doing that, what I am going to do, I'm going to run this code. Okay, and let's run this code on a fresh window. So the ID is gaurav@gmail.com and anu123 is the password. Let's set the sign in with option gaurav@gmail.com and
Unknown.
anu123 is ID. Let's log in. Okay, now if you will hit this delete button, what
Hmm.
is going to happen? Let's check it out. See,
It's gone. The whole
it's
record is
gone.
gone. Okay.
Understood?
Hmm. Yes,
Now
sir.
the issue here is if you will hit this sign in with option,
Hmm.
it is going to give
Oh.
you the ID and password of Gaurav with which he created his profile. Now, in order to get rid of
Uh,
this, what we can do, the way we defined the thing,
empty. Empty thing. Yeah.
absolutely correct. You know,
Okay.
this is how you need to think. So, what we can do, we can make use of this whole code. We are
Hmm.
going to put it over here.
Okay.
Right, now let's check it out one more time. Sorry, what has happened? Okay, so now let's hit the sign in with
Okay.
and let's find out what do we have in this users table. Anita@gmail.com and Sneha123 is the password. Let's make use of this one. Anita@gmail.com and password is Sneha123.
Okay.
We are able to log in into this app and the ID is getting reflected over here. Let's now hit this delete button.
Okay.
See, the
Yeah,
records
it's
have got
gone.
deleted. And now
Hmm.
if you'll hit the sign in button, See, they're not coming. Fine. Earlier the records were visible to me, right? The earlier the email ID and
Yeah.
password was visible to me. Now it is not. So that's how you can make it more real. Fine.
Okay. So, but we should have got, there is one more record. Now, why didn't that option come?
Which one?
This abhinav@gmail.com or asmita123.
So
At
you
least
need
that
to
should have shown up.
no why but because right now Anita is working on this platform. No? So the records
Uh-huh.
of the email ID and password of Abhinav should not be visible to her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Understood, sir.
Hmm.
Got it. Link those buttons too.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So I am sharing this link with you. Just give me a short moment.
Okay.
Have
It's
you
a
got the
little
link, Lakshmi?
complicated, sir, but yeah, yeah, it's a little complicated, but yeah, I practiced, I think twice, whatever you gave today. I had
Okay.
practiced it twice, and it is like, okay, sir. So I'll practice this again twice or thrice before I come
Sure,
to the
sure,
next class.
sure. God bless you. Namaste.
Fine, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome,
Thank you so
welcome,
much.
welcome.
Bye, sir. Bye.
Bye.